Grab.
All this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all. All this earth, could all that is lost ever be found? Could a garden come up from this ground at all? You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground. Out of chaos, life is being found in. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. Oh, you make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. You make me new. You are making me new. You make me new. You are making me new. Making me new. You make beautiful things. You make.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Barb Bruce, and I'm the author of Enough Already, Winning Your Ugly Struggle with Beauty. And I want to welcome you to the celebration of the launch for the book. If we haven't met before and you haven't seen, I had a little book project that officially entered the market today. And this 30-minute broadcast is an opportunity for us to celebrate the launch of the book. But this broadcast isn't so much about me, but really it's about invitation for all of us, the opportunities that this book, the dialogue that we're able to create. And so if you've taken time out to join me this evening, thank you. It is so exciting to have an opportunity to kind of share some things. There are a variety of things we're going to cover in this 30-minute broadcast. Right now, I am coming to you from my office at Cedar Creek Church in Perrysburg, Ohio. And I am here because at my house, there are 2 dogs, a couple of college students, hubby cooking dinner. There's a high school student trying to do some homework, and a really noisy bunny that keeps rattling her cage. So I thought maybe it would be a good idea for me to just broadcast from a quiet place. This is a corner of my office. I'll tell you a little bit more about this cool painting in a moment. We're going to be talking about some of the things related to the book during this 30 minutes. We're also going to do a couple of fun things. And then I know there's a group of you who are here before the giveaways. I know you don't have to pretend that you're not here. So we're going to get to the giveaways near the end of the broadcast. Now, there are some ways that we can interact with each other. The things that we're talking about this evening really are about you, but you can also interact with me depending on the device that you have. There's a Q&A on the right side of your screen. If you're on a laptop, you should be able to see it. Maybe you can go to the top. This broadcast is coming to us hosted by Google Hangout. And so Google Hangout has a Q&A function, and I would love it if you would send me some questions. You can ask me any questions about me. You can ask questions about the book. If you've read the book, you can tell me about some things that you liked. If you haven't read the book and you wanted more information about kind of the scope of it, feel free to ask me questions. I won't say anyone's name, and if you don't want me to, but I would love to kind of give a shout out. So we've got more people joining us. But it's just exciting to have you with us this evening as we start the broadcast. Now, there are also a few favorite tips that I want to show you, because again, this isn't just about the book. We're just going to have some fun. So what I thought that I would launch off with was kind of some of the background of why. A lot of my life, especially since I'm a woman, has been about not just like getting dressed every day, but a lot of the mental energy behind what I've called our ugly struggle with beauty. One of the things that I've tried to work through is how I kind of reconcile the inside part of me and the outside part of me. And so this book has been a journey towards that. And one of the fun parts about writing the book was an opportunity to bring other voices. And so there's some stories that I want to share with you. One of the questions I love that people ask, my friend Lauren just sent in a question. When we're talking about the book, I want to tell you about my favorite chapter because I have one of those. I got a question about my outfit. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a moment. So thank you for the question. This outfit actually has bearing on the book. And so I want to tell you about that in just a moment. But as this process of kind of thinking about the topic of beauty and an opportunity to write a book, there were a lot of voices that I wanted to join in with mine. Beauty is a complicated topic. And one of the things that always struck me as interesting, especially as a woman who works for a church, a woman who's in ministry, a woman who's faith-based, was the struggle that women had with figuring out whether or not beauty was an okay topic to talk about. One of the aha moments that came to me was I would go and I would talk to women about virtue, like gentle and quiet spirit. I would talk about being a kind and loving person. I would talk about doing things along the lines Jesus wanted to. But then I discovered that women really were trying to figure out, should they have another piece of dessert or will their butt get bigger? Or they would lament about struggles about, about a nose too big or too many wrinkles. And so the book really came about as a way to kind of bring both sides of the discussion together. One of the questions that was just asked was my favorite chapter of the book. Well, I have a lot of favorite chapters in the book, But if I would jump right into that, I would say my favorite chapter containing my favorite story is chapter 18. And the story is a little long to read it to you, but if you haven't gotten all the way through the book, it's a fun story. The chapter is titled Two Are Better Than One. And it is a story at the very beginning about how my grandma accidentally shaved off both of her eyebrows. Yes, that's the story. And it's a hysterical account of what happened the day that grandma shaved off her eyebrows. Now, I don't want to give you the rest of the story because there was a lot of crazy that went before that. But when it comes to perhaps one of the most thoughtful chapters, I think that the chapter, What Have We Done to Ourselves? That's a chapter that I think a lot about. Girls, every morning we wake up and we look in the mirror. And when we look in the mirror, we never just come right out and say, wow, awesome. Usually when we look in the mirror, the first thing we think about is what we're missing, thinking about what we don't have. And in fact, there is a picture that I've been using. And this picture, I'm going to show it to you in just a moment. This is a picture that actually is part of a postcard. I'm hoping that you can see it. I'm hoping that you can see it. Otherwise, it may be backwards. But what the picture says is that if you give a woman 30 seconds in a mirror, she will tell you about all of her flaws. If you give a woman 30 seconds in a mirror, she'll tell you about all of her flaws. And the hard part for me, there we go, there is it. And the hard part for me is that I fall into that category where I can look in the mirror and immediately I'm looking at all of the things that I think are wrong with me. Well, the book is about navigating through all of that. One of the things that I thought could be a unique opportunity would be, especially if you haven't read the book, some of the stories that are contained in the book are directly from the survey, Enough Already. The Created with Curve survey. And I just wanted to share one of those stories with you because I have a feeling that some of you could relate. This one was, a woman said, when I was younger, and this is from the chapter Who Told Us That We Weren't Beautiful. And a woman said, when I was younger, I was very thin and flat-chested. Even my mother-in-law made a comment that she didn't know what first attracted her son to me because I didn't have a womanly shape. I considered having breast implants for a long time. Now, this wasn't something that absolutely wrecked her life, but it was a statement that was made about her size or shape or her style, and that stuck with her. It had an imprint on her. And that's some of that ugly struggle with beauty. When I go online and I look at a variety of things, there are always magazine articles or there are web links or things that I go to, and there's all of these messages. If you read the book, and I think it's in Flaw Finding, I think it's chapter 4, Flaw Finding. That is a chapter, let me make sure that's the right one. That is a chapter where I talk about the pressure that we feel. And if you've read the book, some of you had an opportunity to take the survey where you got a chance to rate your body parts. And it was amazing to me when I looked at the Created with Curve survey because there were a lot of women who didn't like a lot of things about themselves. And I was like, yeah, I get that. In fact, Who Told Us We Weren't Beautiful? I talk about magazine covers. Well, this is the magazine that I used for that. So this was just a standard magazine, Ladies' Home Journal from November 2013. And here's the deal. I am not against the beauty industry. In fact, look at me, y'all. I got all kinds of makeup on. I got jewelry on. I got earrings on. I'll tell you about my vest in just a second. I am not against the beauty industry. In fact, you know, I chip in my fair share towards it. And I talk about that in the book. But when I look at some of the articles, and we're just standing in the grocery store line, you know how it is. And so there's how to look sexy at 30, 40, 50, and 60. Got belly fat? Will convince you to lose it. I don't necessarily think I need to be convinced. I think I already know. The Whole Body Anti-Aging Guide. At this point, they're a part of me. There's some stuff on me that is aging, and I don't know if I can stop the hands of time. Healthy recipes. There are so many different things that we take away from messages. But the interesting part of the whole thing is that even though we stop looking at the magazine article, we we really internalize some things. We really carry some of those messages with us. And so how in the world do we manage all those messages? So let me tell you about this vest. I believe that's also in the same chapter. Who told us we weren't beautiful? I tell the story of this particular vest, and it's in a section called Fake is the New Real. So this vest is something that I got a couple of years ago. I'll stand up a little bit so that you can see it. Yes, that's the vest. Well, what happened was one day I was at a store, and I love clearance shopping, but there are times, very rare times, where something so extraordinary happens that I decide that I want to purchase something that is not on sale. Now, that does not happen often. So here's the deal. So I see this vest and it's hanging up high and it just looked interesting. And I asked the salesman if he would get it down for me, and he did. And I looked at it and it wasn't ridiculously expensive, y'all. Now, come on. First, let me tell you a secret about this vest. So, okay, so see this vest? Okay, so this is a really super cool vest. But let me show you something that's not so cool. Don't get nervous. If there's a dude out there, I am not stripping. I'm just want to show you. So I can't believe I'm showing y'all this. This is why people tell stuff on Maury Povich. What is it about a screen that makes people just want to tell all their stuff? So I'm about to show you something that is not cool about this vest. Yeah, I know. I'm just going to zip this right back up. See, the vest was cool, and now all of you are like, I wish she wouldn't have done that. So anywho, so even though this vest had some really crazy stuff on the inside, I decided that I would just buy it anyway. So I took it up to the front, and the guy said, "Oh, isn't this vest just a fabulous?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of cool." He goes, "You know, this vest is vegan leather." And I was like, "Vegan leather?" This was a couple years ago, and I'm like, "What's vegan leather?" He's like, "Well, it's like real leather, but it's not." And I looked at him and I'm like, "Do you mean pleather?" And he goes, "No, like vegan leather." And I was like, "You mean pleather? Like what I wore as a kid on the playground that got me laughed at when all the other kids had leather tennis shoes on." There is something about how we are interpreting the message in culture. And when we look at the messages that we see, and again, I'm not saying that we blame the industry. What I'm saying is that we are responsible for the messages that we believe. We are responsible for how we evaluate the information. And so the book kind of walks us through the process. Now, the fun part about the book itself is that I assume when you're reading the book that you have the same struggles as me. And so there are some times when I just want to kind of take a step back and go, let me tell you my story and then you tell me yours. And then there are some other places where we have some fun. And speaking of fun, I thought perhaps maybe I wanted to kind of take a TV time out and tell you or bring up some words that we see often when we're shopping as women. But these words, well, I think they really don't represent what they really mean. I think they mean something else. And so let's take this one for instance. 80% off. Now, when we are out shopping and we see the word 80% off, we go, woohoo, 80% off. But girls, do you know what 80% off really means? It means please come buy the clothes that nobody wants. Like things like that. So when you see 80% off, that means please come buy the clothes nobody wanted. Another one, one size fits all. I run into that. I see something that says one size fits all, and it seems like a great idea, right? Well, to me, what one size fits all really means, it isn't going to look good on anybody. That's what that means. Spanx, well, no, Lycra. We all own some Lycra. We like buying Lycra in our clothes. Well, Lycra means go ahead and eat what you want, and we won't tell. That's what Lycra means. And Lycra is made possible. Spanx is made possible by Lycra. And so Spanx for me, Spanx is you should have bought a bigger size, but we'll see what we can do. So those are some things that I think about when it comes to beauty and I'm shopping and that kind of thing. So now back to a few things. One of the parts that is fun for me, let me find it, is that in the book, we talk about progressing our way through our ugly struggle with beauty. But I also, towards the end of the book, talk about some practical things. When I'm on social media, there are a lot of questions that women have about the practical stuff. So I thought that there would be a few practical things that I would tell you about, especially as it pertains to me. That's why I'm going to talk to you about this painting behind me right here. This painting actually was a gift given to me by friends of mine in La Ceiba, Honduras. I travel to Honduras pretty regularly to do women's conferences. Again, since I work for a church, we have a partnership with Great Commission Latin America. And it's a network of churches, and I have the honor of sometimes once a year, twice a year, speaking at a women's conference. Well, in La Ceiba, Honduras, this place is like a second home to me. And when I was there in January, I was presented with this gift, and it is a beautiful oil painting. And I know you can't see all of the detail on it, but this oil painting was it was created over 2 months' time by a beautiful woman named Elizabeth. She's actually just recently graduated from law school. She took 2 months, and the picture was provided to her by a friend of mine. Now, why I want to show you this is not only because it's an extraordinary painting, but it also gives you one of the secrets to one of my beauty secrets. If you see how I'm dressed, I've got a hat on, sunglasses, lipstick, and a necklace and a little shawl. This is a technique that I found out about many years ago called paparazzi up. So it's Saturday morning, and you need to get out and get going. Maybe you woke up late. Maybe you've got to get somebody dropped off somewhere, or you need to meet a friend for coffee, but you don't have time to do the whole shebang. You don't have time to do your hair. You don't have time to put on all your makeup. You don't have time to just do it all. But the technique of paparazzi up is very simple, evidenced by my little outfit here. What you need for this technique to get you out the door in 5 minutes or less is, first, you need a hat. Now, the things that you see in this picture are things I actually own. That hat in the picture, it really exists. I got it for $2 at Walmart one day. Those sunglasses, something that I owned for years. You notice I've got on that red lipstick, the same lipstick I have on now, and then a necklace, and then a piece of clothing that matches the hat. So a practical tip is, if you need to get out of the house in a hurry, paparazzi up is a technique that you can use. You throw on a hat, try to make sure your hair is combed under the hat, because if it's windy and the hat comes off, you don't want any of that action. So make sure you got the hat on, sunglasses. I believe in doing some moisturizer, lipstick, put on a piece of jewelry, maybe even some earrings, and throw on a piece of clothing that's the same as a hat, and then you'll look coordinated. That is the paparazzi up technique that I wanted to show you. So that's one of those fun beauty things. I've got some questions that have come in. This is a question about how I picked the outfit that I was wearing. Part of the thing that I wanted to demonstrate was just showing the vest that was related to the book. That's just one of those things that I thought might be a little bit of fun. Let's see, what else do we have? What's the most difficult part? Oh, okay, wanted to share. Sometimes the most difficult part about getting dressed is making sure that everything that I have, I'm comfortable in. I'll tell you a little bit more about my website in just a moment. But one of the things that I believe in is if I follow my beauty rules, and my beauty rules essentially are, first, I make sure that everything I own fits, and I get rid of the stuff that doesn't fit. Nobody wants clothes in their closet that are too big or too small. It just kind of bums us out. The second thing is I make sure that I love everything that I have. There are lots and lots of different clothing options out there. I just know that I can only have so many types of clothing that I can love and feel comfortable in. And then the third thing is I get rid of stuff, and I only buy keeping the clothes I love, buying the clothes only I love. And then the third thing is just getting rid of everything else. Checking another question. Oh, okay. But those are my beauty rules. And so for me, it's not difficult getting dressed because my closet is streamlined. I tend to wear a lot of black and gray, but I offset it usually by having like a bright colored lipstick on, or I try to make sure that my jewelry has a lot of pop to it. There are some go-to colors that I have. So this brings me to another fun tip. This is a book written by my friend Sherry Brindell. Sherry and I met this summer at a conference, and she wrote this book called Help Me Jesus, I Have Nothing to Wear. My book is a lot about discipleship. Sherry's is about the nuts and bolts practical of getting dressed. So it's called Help Me Jesus, I Have Nothing to Wear. And when I read the book, I realized that Sherry and I were on the same wavelength when it comes to getting dressed. I just had a new question come in. Thank you for sending in the question. And this question was, what was the toughest part of the book to write? That is an easy one. The toughest part of the book to write was chapter 6, Defining Divine Beauty. This was a chapter that I needed to help women, help all of us understand who God was. Because when we understand who God is, then that helps us understand what beauty is. And if you're watching today and perhaps you don't have a faith-based background, chapter 6 might be kind of tough for you to wrap your mind around. It actually took me 2 weeks to write this chapter because I had to figure out how to take like the God of the universe and share who he was in such a way so that we could capture God's heart when it came to beauty. Because God has a tremendous heart for beauty. In the book, I talk about inner beauty and outer beauty and about how God values both. Defining Divine Beauty creates the framework for the next chapter of the book, which was See God First. And this was the chapter that inspired the entire project. But I needed to share with women who God was so that they could understand the framework of beauty that I would share with them in the See God First chapter. See God First is what really provides the practical framework for us to begin to win our ugly struggle with beauty. The thing that meant a lot to me in writing this book was that I could find ways to practically help us push the ball down the field to the win. I know that most of us are women, and so it's hard using a sports analogy, but I really wanted to have a practical way to help women push the ball down the field to the win. And so See God First contains that framework where we learn how to see the goodness, we learn how to see the blessing, and we learn how to see the purpose in our bodies. And so another question, what chapter did you giggle through while writing it? There were a bunch of fun chapters. I giggled through the chapter regarding my grandma's story and 2 are better than 1. In Around the Office, one of the infamous chapters is the vagina dialogue. And I have to tell you, it is probably not as spicy as people think it is, depending on who you are and where you come from. Now, I do have to tell you that there are, it's a dialogue about a vagina. But I also laughed because there's an exercise where I ask women to think about their bodies metaphorically. We have bad metaphors. My thighs are like cottage cheese, right? My breasts are like pancakes. Who said that before? Or balloons, depending on what kind of work you've had done. I don't know if I should have said that. Well, it's out there. But in the chapter for the vagina dialogue, it's a challenge for us to talk about our bodies positively, metaphorically. And I use the Song of Solomon as an example to do that. So that was a fun chapter, and I kind of giggled through that. And that's why I decided that I would pass that exercise along to you. Oh gosh, and stories that didn't make it into the book. Oh my gosh. There are just a crazy amount of stories that didn't make it into the book. Some of those stories I'm going to be talking about on my website. I have unbelievable amounts of material. One of the hard things for me to cut early on in the book under Beauty Narratives. Beauty Narratives is a chapter in the book where I share my story. My name is Barb, and I come from a wonderful family. I had great cousins I played with, but my name was Barb, and we played with Barbies. And I was a really small, shy kid, and I really struggled with this idea of Barbie dolls. Well, I also was thinking about all of the Disney movies. And so there was a section of beauty narratives called fairy narratives. And fairy narratives was where I kind of looked through the Disney movies, because beauty is such a theme in all of the Disney movies. And if you think about the vintage Disney princesses, it's not necessarily the same for the main characters now, especially when you think about Tangled and Frog and the Prince and some of those. But beauty was very much a theme that was fought about in those early Disney movies. If you think about Snow White, if you think about Cinderella, if you think about so many different movies, beauty was battled over. Even for Mulan, she had to kind of conceal who she was. So those are some of the things that didn't make it in. But the great part is that this summer I have an opportunity to write a Bible study, a 6-week Bible study through Abingdon. And it's about Enough Already, and it'll be a DVD-based study. And I have the chance to incorporate some of the things that I didn't get a chance to talk about in the book. What would be awesome is if you've read the book or read parts of the book and there are things that I didn't talk about that you wish that I would talk about, or things that you wish I would have expanded upon, I have the opportunity to do that in this Bible study. I'm looking at the time. Wow, I was wondering if I would be able to, like, how things were going to flow. I've got some things that I want to share with you, because there are some giveaways I need to do. One final question that I got in was, what did I learn from writing this book? This book was a place where God and I did business. There are so many stories from my ugly struggle with beauty. A lot of things that I had kind of overcome, but in the process of writing the book, God kind of surfaced many things again. And one of the most profound experiences, once I read through the survey results before I started writing the book, was realizing how much it was needed. I remember just sitting at my desk and just putting my head down and sobbing at my desk when I read the stories of so many women. This book was written for all of you. It was written to include as many voices as possible, but also written, hopefully, with the understanding that God is speaking to us from my vantage point. I clearly want to point everyone to the scriptures, but there is something that God wants us to get through, because he has a greater plan and purpose for each one of our lives. And it was through writing this book that I really developed that conviction. Our ugly struggle with beauty, it's something I've started saying. Our ugly struggle with beauty isn't just about how we look. It's understanding that our struggle deeply impacts how we live. And so that's something that I want women to be able to work through during the book. So there's a few things that I want to tell you. I told you that through this entire broadcast process that I wanted to share with you, but I also wanted you to know that there were just gifts I wanted to give to you. The first gift that I want to give to you is that there are some free downloads on my barbruce.com website. You're there on the website now. And if you go to shop, do it after the broadcast, but there are some free downloads that really coincide with some of the themes of the book. If you don't have the book, you can buy it there as well. But those free downloads go right to your email. They're printable. There's some prayers there. There are just some things that I just wanted to give to you. And then the second thing is that I've got what I call the Beautiful Devotional. It's a 7-day devotional that will start this Monday. And so if you subscribe, click the subscribe button to barbruce.com, I will send you that 7-day Bible study each day. And it'll be a little devotional with a little story. A couple of the stories are from the book, and then a couple of the stories are new. But I just wanted to create a 7-day devotional. And this is great whether you've read the book or not, but it's about topics of beauty that help connect us to each other and our hearts to God. So those are some things I wanted to share with you. Now, Pinterest, also, there are some great pins. Here's the deal. This isn't about me, but I wanted to create pins so that you could share them with your friends. I wanted to put pins in there that when you shared them, that would just introduce a smile to your friend's day, because I want you to be in a position of being able to encourage other women. And so those pins are created to give you tools to encourage other women. Now, I know some of you are waiting to find out more about the giveaways. I've got a variety of things to give away at this broadcast and as well as the 8:30 broadcast. So you'll see I have the Enough Already books. I also have, and these I created, and so these are, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's a charm bracelet or a charm necklace that says "You are enough already." I made these charms myself, y'all. And then I have a box of gourmet chocolate. So I have names. I did it through Rafflecopter. If you've never used Rafflecopter before, you guys signed up, and then I click a button and it gives me names. So these are the winners, and I will announce, or I'll put these winners on my Shape, Style, and Soul site. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. Brianna Westwick is the winner of one of the Enough Already books. I'm giving away 2 books in this broadcast and 2 books at 8:30. So Brianna Westwick is Restrick, and then Andrea Cullenber is the winner of the second book. And then the winner of the chocolate, this is 8 pieces of gourmet chocolate from Chocolade at a place in Perrysburg, Ohio. Kitty Dolger is the winner of that. Let's see, Melissa Brittner is the winner of one necklace. Laura Bick is the winner of the other necklace. So these names will be posted on my Shape, Style, and Soul page. And speaking of Shape, Style, and Soul page, ladies, I would love to stay connected with you. I talk about a lot of stuff on that page. We share a lot of fun things. And so I'm hoping that you join that community and you join in with your thoughts, sharing how you're doing, how you're feeling, because this is a place, it's a safe place for us to talk about being a woman. And then as well as depending on where you're at, if you are a part of women's ministry at another church, this is a topic that I love speaking about. And so if you are thinking about an upcoming women's event, I would love to talk with you about it, because I do want to share the Enough Already message with women anywhere. So, and I think I've got one more note finally. If you have finished the book, I would love it if you would head to Amazon and write a review. There are women I'm hoping to connect with across the country. And even though they don't know who I am, they will respect what you have to say. And so I hope you have the chance to share your feedback on Amazon. So I think that we got pretty much everything in there. Ladies, I want to thank you for joining today's broadcast. This is going to actually be automatically uploaded to YouTube, and it'll be on my website. So if you had friends who missed it and they can't join us at 8:30, I'll be publishing the link later. So thank you again for joining me. I'm sure there's something I'm going to remember that I'll add to the 8:30 broadcast. So join back in on that one if you can. God bless you, ladies. Thanks for stopping by. Good night. Okay, and so then here's the awkward part where I'm going to have to hit stop broadcast. So it's like I'm hanging up first. Okay. Oh, bye.